One of the things that I feel like there's so much buzz around is culture fit, right? Would you say that a job description's culture fit could silently filter out great candidates, or what are your opinions around the best way to utilize culture fit?
Yeah, so culture fit is something that I think everyone thinks about and wants to find on both sides of a hiring equation, the right fit from a quote unquote culture perspective. Um, I don't even know if culture fit is like the right kind of nomenclature for I think what most people are saying. Like, but there is for every job description, there is a uh, we try at Engine to make the hiring process as scientific or objective or fair, however you want to put it, just as possible. Um, from sourcing candidates, how you advertise jobs, all the way through to how you're kind of getting people through a screening process, like trying to maximize the people that are in that context window so that you can really find the people with the skills that are going to drive your business forward and that are going to be the highest match where you're going to have the highest likelihood of success on both sides. Culture fit is something that is a very difficult thing to put into a scientific framework because it's vibes, right? And like it just is vibes. Like you can't like that's the kind of the point of it, right? And when you talk to someone and you're an adult and you're looking for a job or you're hiring someone, you get to know them and your instinct is going to tell you something about your relationship with them, right? About how the conversation is going, about whether or not you feel you could work comfortably with them. You have to trust that instinct because it is ultimately, if you're going to be working closely with someone, you have to like them and they have to like you. Like that is just a fact. Like people who hate their boss hate their job. And so, and if you don't like one of your employees, you don't get along with them, you don't see eye to eye to them, and you just like you don't vibe with them. You need to be able to be a professional and like manage people, but I've managed 50, 60 person teams. Like it's really much better if everyone kind of likes each other and respects each other. And that's where culture fit comes in. And I think culture fit can be like I was running a culture. I've run large teams in 4 or 5 different companies. Every company did have a different culture, but there were some things underlying that were the same, right? These were sort of sales and recruiting oriented businesses. So everyone was very kind of extroverted and everyone was very, I would say, optimistic, right? And that created a culture that had some really great benefits, which is it was a very positive, outgoing, energetic culture, but also it needed to be managed around focus, being optimistic, but not being unrealistic about like, are we actually going to hit our goals? Right. We all want to hit them. We're going to like, we're rah, 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 but like, are we doing the work necessary to actually get there? So you have to always understand what the strengths and weaknesses of a given culture are. And then I've worked with over 1,000 different logos in almost 20 years recruiting. And such a wide variety of cultures in there. There are some companies where people will go days without talking to another coworker. They'll be slacking with them or emailing with them, or they'll be, if they're really hyper technical writing code and they're perfectly content. They love it. They do not want anything to do with a hyper energetic kind of like extroverted culture. Great. That's totally fine. They can be, and they're happy at their job. You have to figure out as an individual over time where you fit, be objective with yourself, maybe take quizzes to understand like what your best work environment is. And then as a company that's doing the hiring or a recruiter that's, hiring on behalf of an organization, you have to really try to put yourself in the mindset of the hiring team that this person would be going to work for and do your best to make a judgment call on if that sort of culture is going to match, right? Now, you also have to be cautious of, biasing yourself And there's something in the hiring and recruiting world called unconscious bias that have gotten a lot of attention for the last decade or so. And it's a really interesting area because we all have a bias that is towards people that basically have a similar background to us. So an example is, where'd you go to high school? Oh, you're from Michigan too. Oh, you like the Vikings. I see you got a Viking flag in behind you. I'm a Minnesota guy, right? Now that's not relevant for the job per se. So is that an appropriate way to assess whether or not that you're going to hire that person? Now, some people would say, no, it's not. Now, I'm going to say, as a recruiter for 20 years, it absolutely is. Because if you like them, they're going to be more successful and you're going to be more successful. It's just a reality. Now, you can't discriminate based on a protected class, right? Because, someone based on their sex or their gender or their race or their religion, or their marital status, these are things you can't and should never, discriminate on. But if someone has a similar story to you and you're going to work side by side them and you're going to work with them every single day and you guys see eye to eye on certain things, you're going to have more success working collaboratively with that person, in my experience. So I think it's a very important conversation to have as an organization, which is you need to bring in people that match your culture because otherwise you're going to fail. There's nothing, the number one reason why people quit a job is because they don't get along with the people they work with. Like that is what will drive people to quit a job faster than anything else. Like I don't my boss and I or the people I work with, we just don't get along and it's not a fit. It just feels icky and gross every day. Why would anyone want to put themselves in that environment? Right? And why would you want to hire someone who feels that way or that you feel that way about? So culture fit is once you validate for skills amongst a group of diverse applicants, you should start to look at who's the best culture fit.